Welcome back to Tech Tip Tuesday. Today we are going to dive into a couple week-long series about softwares that you can use for drawing the diagrams in your quilt patterns. This is something that I get a lot of questions about. The software is honestly some of the most difficult part of becoming a quilt pattern designer and writing your own quilt patterns. And I tend to get a lot of questions about it. So we're going to cover a couple of different options and hopefully help you make the best decision if you're just getting started. If you happen to be kind of an old hand, you've been writing quilt patterns for a while, this is also a great opportunity for you to see what else is out there. If you're not overly thrilled with either the price or the workflow of the current software that you're looking at, this is going to be a perfect opportunity to see what else is out there and what your options are. All right, let's get into it. So first of all, you're going to need a vector graphics program in order to write quilt patterns, or at least in order to write good quilt patterns. This is a software that you're going to use to draw all of those diagrams and schematics for block assembly, for cutting all of your HSTs, showing how the blocks get laid out and put together, all of those different things. That's all done typically in a vector graphics program. So what exactly is a vector graphics software? So at its core, what it is a software that allows you to draw based on vectors, points, dimensions, right? Rather than pixels. So most images are pixel-based, right? If you take a picture with your camera, you're going to get a pixel-based image. And what it is basically a big array of squares, and each square has a color. And when you make those squares small enough and you have enough of them, you're going to end up with a colorful picture that looks beautiful, right? It's true to life. It's a snapshot of exactly what you're seeing. A vector-based image is a little bit different. So instead of having pixels, you end up with points, coordinates, right? We're digging into some of that high school algebra again. And so what that means is that you can scale these things infinitely while still maintaining quality. Pixel-based images, and I'm sure you've experienced this, right? If you have a beautiful image that you took that was just really, really zoomed out and you want to make it bigger and you start to blow it up, it's going to get grainy on you because those pixels have a finite dimension attached to them. And the bigger you make it, the bigger the pixel gets. And so you start getting those jagged edges and the blurry image that no one likes to see, right? Vector graphics, because they're just coordinates and how they relate to each other is what defines the image. You can make that as big or as small as you want it to, and the quality doesn't change. And that's really important when we're talking about kind of these assembly diagrams, because we don't want to be locked into a specific size and shape and have to export at different resolutions and all of that business. It gets really annoying. And also when we're dealing with things that need to be true to size, like a quilt pattern template, right? A curved template, if you've got curved blocks in your pattern, you need those things to have a specific size attached to them. And quite often that size is rather large, right? We're talking about, a 4-inch or an 8-inch square, which is pretty large in terms of a pixel image. And so we want to be able to kind of blow things up without losing the quality. That's what a vector graphics program does for you, right? Because we're more concerned about the dimensions and the quality of the image rather than it being true to life, which is what a pixel-based image does for you. So that's kind of the long and short of it. The bottom line is that if you want to draw things that are geometric, like quilt blocks, you're going to need a vector graphics program. And there are a few of those on the market. The most common that I see people using for writing quilt patterns are Adobe Illustrator, of course. That's going to be your industry standard. Affinity Designer is also super popular, and we're going to talk about some of the benefits of that here in a little bit. And then Inkscape is a free program that's out there. Now, these are not the only ones that are available. There's also CorelDRAW and some of these other vector graphics programs out there available, but by and large, the quilting community are using one of these three different programs. So let's kind of compare and contrast each a little bit more, but in subsequent videos next week and the following week, we're going to deep dive into each of these different softwares a little bit more. I'll do a quick demo of some basic diagram drawing that you're going to probably want to do if you're drawing quilt patterns. So you'll get to see how these softwares work and what the benefits of each are in terms of user friendliness and actually using the software for writing quilt patterns. Okay, so let's talk about kind of some broad pros and cons of each. Adobe Illustrator, like I said, that's industry standard. If you happen to be wanting to write quilt patterns or design fabric and work with a fabric company or a publishing company, anything like that, they're more than likely going to require you to use Adobe Illustrator because that's what their people use. This is the industry standard. But because it's the industry standard, it's also fairly expensive. This thing is a monthly subscription cost. If you buy just the Illustrator portion of it, it is $23 a month at an annual plan. If you're going to need more than one app, that ends up being about $60 a month. So it can add up very quickly. And of course, this is a monthly charge. So the longer you're in the business, the more you have paid towards this software. You have to keep paying in order to maintain access to it. The nice Part of that is that it will automatically push new updates. So every time Adobe enhances the program and adds new features to it, you're going to get access to those features just with your monthly subscription cost. You don't have to pay any additional, which is a benefit for sure because you want to stay up to date with these softwares. They are always changing and improving. Affinity Designer is a little bit different, right? This is more geared towards someone who just needs access to the vector graphics program, but isn't necessarily working in it daily, where speed is really, really critical. It is a one-time purchase, which is great, right? You pay one license fee and you get access to it for as long as you have the software until you get bored of it, more or less. And that access fee is about $70, $69.99. You can't even get half a year of Adobe for that. So that is definitely a benefit, is the price. And it's a very good basic software, but again, there's not as many shortcuts. The workflow is just not quite as smooth. So if you're working in this daily, it's going to take you a little bit longer than it would someone working daily in something like Illustrator that's set up for professionals. The other drawback is that you have to pay for updates. So every couple of years, Affinity Designer will kind of go through an overhaul. They're on version 2 right now. I'm sure version 3 is in the works already. But when that comes out, the license fee that you have already paid for version 2 doesn't apply to version 3, right? You're going to have to pay an additional amount. It is a reduced amount, but you're still going to have to pay a little bit more to update to version 3, which means that a lot of people just kind of stay at the older version, which can make backwards and forward compatibility over the span of a couple of years a little bit difficult. So that's just one thing to note. The final software that I hear a lot about, and I don't recommend using, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is Inkscape. This is an open source software. Open source means it's free, and there's a bunch of different people that contribute to the development of it. That sounds great, right? Free software. And don't get me wrong, it's pretty darn good, but it is pretty buggy, right? We're talking about you're in the middle of something and the software just crashes on you because there's a bug in there from a developer that was just kind of working on this as a part-time project. It happens. Most of the time you can recover it, but sometimes you do lose some of the work that you've worked on, and that's heartbreaking when you've put a lot of time into it. There's also, like Affinity Designer, some things that just kind of slow down the workflow. This is, in my opinion, at least, even worse than Affinity Designer in that respect. There's a lot of kind of workarounds and things, extra steps you have to go through in order to achieve the same thing that you would get in something like Illustrator. So again, if you're working in this long term, on a daily basis, churning out patterns as either a ghostwriter or as a professional working with a fabric company, this is going to slow you down a lot. And honestly, in business, time is the most important asset that you have. So anything that's going to slow you down is really not worthwhile, even if it is free. But I want to put it out there as an option because if you're more of a hobbyist, you just want to write a pattern or two for your quilt guild or to share something with a friend, or maybe you're just dabbling with the business aspect of it. You're not quite ready to go full in and expend a lot of money. Inkscape is a great way to get started. There just are some quirks about it that you have to get used to. So that's kind of a broad overview of the softwares out there. There are different options, and it really just depends on your situation, what is going to be best for you. But in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be deep diving into each of these softwares so you can kind of get a feel for how they work and make a better decision about what is going to be best for you. So make sure you come back for next week's Tech Tip Tuesday and the next couple of weeks after that, because there's going to be a lot of good information here. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. See ya.